I gave up my job and moved states for a fresh start. My brother promised to help. Instead, he stole my apartment. Then told me, "You'll find another. You always do." This time, I let him figure it out. My name's Jessica, and for as long as I can remember, I've been the one people could count on. Problem is, I've also been the one people think they can walk all over. Especially my brother. When I decided to move back to Seattle after 5 long years away, it felt like the right time. I was burned out at my job in Sacramento, my lease was ending, and I missed the city. I missed the coffee shops, the rain, the old neighborhoods that still felt like home. So I gave notice at work, packed up my things, and started looking for a place to land. That's when Dylan, my older brother of all people, offered to help. "Finally," he said when I told him, "Seattle's calling you back. You need help with anything?" Apartment hunting. Caught me off guard. Dylan isn't the helpful type. He's the guy who forgets birthdays, shows up late to everything, and always has some kind of emergency when it's time to help someone else. But this time he actually seemed supportive, interested even. He offered to go check out listings for me. Said he'd talk to landlords, take videos, text updates. Since I couldn't fly in for tours without missing work, I accepted. He even found a place. It was perfect. A 1-bedroom apartment near Green Lake, close to parks and good coffee. Hardwood floors, big windows, a little balcony where I pictured myself drinking tea in the mornings. He sent me pictures, videos, everything. "You're gonna love this place," he said. "Totally your vibe." I trusted him. Like an idiot. He even picked up the lease paperwork for me, said he'd take care of it until I got to town. I wired the deposit, confirmed my move-in date, and handed in my work badge on my last day with a little skip in my step. The morning I arrived in Seattle, it was raining, of course, but I didn't care. I was buzzing. I parked my car outside the building, grabbed my rolling suitcase from the back seat, and just stood there for a second, staring up at the place that was supposed to be my new home. Finally, I took the stairs up to the 3rd floor, my heart pounding, suitcase thumping behind me. Dylan had the keys, so he said he'd be there already, ready to help me get settled. I knocked on the door of apartment 3B. No answer. I knocked again. "Dylan." I heard footsteps and then the door opened. And there he was, my brother. Standing in the doorway barefoot, hair messy like he just rolled out of bed, wearing sweatpants and a stretched-out hoodie. He looked comfortable. Too comfortable. Something immediately felt off. I blinked. Hey, what's going on?" He scratched his head, avoiding eye contact. "Hey, Jess." I looked past him. The apartment was lived in. Boxes. A laptop open on the counter. His jacket slung over the arm of the couch. Half a pizza on the coffee table. My stuff wasn't there. His was. My stomach dropped. "Where's my stuff?" He hesitated. That one tiny pause told me everything. "Dylan," I said slowly. "What's going on?" He let out an awkward laugh, the kind he always does when he knows he screwed up. "So, about that." I felt my body go cold. No way. You didn't." He gave me a weak little shrug. "I kinda took the apartment." I stared at him. "You what?" "I mean, technically I signed the lease. You told me you were dropping it off for me. I was gonna. But then I thought you were still figuring stuff out, and I really needed a place, and the landlord said it was still up in the air, so you stole my apartment?" He flinched. "Whoa, okay. Let's not make this dramatic." I stepped back, heart racing. "I quit my job. Packed up my life. I drove here. You knew this was my place." He raised his hands like I was the one being unreasonable. "I thought maybe you'd change your mind. You always second-guess big stuff like this." I almost lost it. "Are you kidding me right now? You watched me plan this move for months. You said you were helping." "I was helping," he said. "But I needed a place to. And you always land on your feet." There it was. Classic Dylan. When we were kids, if he broke something, I got grounded. If he forgot homework, I stayed up helping him. If he needed money, guess who forked it over? He's always needed things more. Always found a way to make me the problem. "You really thought you could do this and I just what? Thank you for saving me from my own apartment." He rubbed his temples like I was giving him a headache. "Come on, Jess. You'll find another place. You're resourceful." You have 10 seconds, I said through gritted teeth, to give me one good reason why I shouldn't call the landlord right now. He blinked. Jessica, don't be dramatic. I turned on my heel and walked. Wait, he called after me, but I didn't stop. I didn't even turn around. I stomped down the stairs, my blood boiling, the rain hitting my face like it was personal. I pulled out my phone with shaking fingers and opened my contacts. Landlord Green Lake. I tapped the number. Dylan had played the wrong game with the wrong sister. I stormed out of the building, my shoes slapping wet concrete, the sound of my suitcase wheels scraping uneven pavement behind me. My pulse was hammering in my ears. My whole body felt hot and electric, like I was halfway between screaming and bursting into tears. I pulled out my phone and hit dial. 2 rings. Then a voice. This is Mr. Daniels. Hi, Mr. Daniels, this is Jessica Morgan. I was supposed to be moving into Unit 3B today. But when I got here, I found out my brother had already taken it. A beat of silence. Then, Jessica. I was wondering when I might hear from you. That sentence alone told me everything. I stopped walking and gripped the phone tighter. So you knew he wasn't me. He let out a sigh. Your brother reached out a couple weeks ago. Said you were reconsidering the lease. He told me he was interested in taking over if you decided not to go through with it. I hadn't received the signed final from you, and since he was already local, I never backed out, I said sharply. He told you that without even asking me. I understand that now, Mr. Daniels said quickly. His tone shifted, suddenly nervous. But Dylan was very persistent. He showed up, said he had the deposit, and he told me you weren't sure anymore. He said you were exploring other options. Of course Dylan said that. Twisting the truth until it broke was his signature move. Mr. Daniels, I said, trying not to raise my voice, that apartment was mine. I'd already sent over all my documents. I confirmed the move-in date. Dylan lied to you. And he did it on purpose. I really don't want to be involved in any family matters, he said carefully. But the lease is now signed in his name. At this point, there's not much I can do legally, unless he chooses to vacate. So that was it. I felt my stomach drop. You're saying I'm just out of luck? I can put you on the wait list, he offered. If another unit opens up. That's not the same thing, I snapped. I planned around this apartment. I moved across the state for it. My life is in boxes because of this. I'm truly sorry, Jessica. But sorry didn't get me my apartment back. And it definitely didn't fix what Dylan had done. I hung up. My hand trembled as I slid the phone back into my jacket pocket. I stood there for a moment under the overhang of some closed coffee shop, watching the light drizzle paint lines on the sidewalk. My suitcase sat next to me, a bright red reminder of the fact that I was now technically homeless. He'd done it again. I had trusted Dylan with something important again, and he had taken advantage of me again. The more I stood there, the more the rage shifted into something heavier, older. This wasn't just about an apartment. It was about every single time I had covered for him, made excuses for him, let it slide. When we were kids, he used to go into my room and take my things without asking. My mom would say, "He's your brother, Jess. Just let him borrow it." Then in high school, he borrowed my car without telling me and totaled it. Mom and Dad said, "He didn't mean to. Be a little more understanding." In college, he used my emergency credit card because he forgot to pay rent. Paid it off. Of course I did. That's what I always did. I cleaned up after him. I took the hit. Because I was the one who could handle it. Because he needed it more. Even when it hurt. Even when it bled me dry. And now here I was, 29 years old, standing in a city where I didn't even have a place to sleep tonight, because Dylan had decided my life was negotiable. Again. Except something had shifted. Something inside me had finally snapped. He hadn't just stolen my apartment. He had stolen my trust again. And this time I wasn't going to let it slide. I turned around and walked straight back toward the building. He was going to hear me out. When I got to the door, I banged hard. No more polite knocks. No more pretending I was okay. It took a minute, but finally the door creaked open. Dylan stood there, blinking like I'd woken him from a nap. "Oh, you're back." I pushed past him before he could stop me. The apartment looked almost exactly like the pictures he'd sent me. Except now it was filled with his clutter. His jacket, his sneakers, his half-unpacked mess. It looked like my future stolen and turned into his. I turned around to face him, arms crossed. You have one chance to explain yourself. He sighed. Jess, you're making this into a bigger deal than it is. I laughed. It came out bitter and sharp. A bigger deal? I just got off the phone with Mr. Daniels. You lied to him. I didn't lie, he said, rubbing the back of his neck. I needed a place, okay? You needed a place, I repeated. And I needed a brother who didn't screw me over. He rolled his eyes. You're being so dramatic about this. It's just an apartment. No, it was my apartment. You knew I was moving today. You knew I had quit my job, packed everything, driven here, and you still took it. He looked genuinely confused. But you'll figure it out. You always do. There it was again. You always land on your feet, Jess. That one line. The phrase he had used 100 times. The excuse everyone had handed him like a free pass. I took a deep breath, staring at him. You know what? Fine. Keep it. Keep the apartment. Enjoy the balcony and the hardwood floors. But don't call me when you need help making rent. What? He said, blinking. I'm done, Dylan. Done bailing you out. Done pretending like you're not the problem. You think just because I'm the stable one, you can treat me like a safety net? Not anymore. Something shifted in his face, just for a second. Not guilt exactly, but maybe realization. Jess, come on, he said. But I was already walking to the door. I didn't know him another minute. For the first time in my life, I was walking away and I wasn't looking back. I didn't look back as I walked out of the apartment building. For the first time in my life, I wasn't going to be Dylan's backup plan. Not his crutch. Not the safety net he always assumed would be there to catch him. I had spent years being the responsible sibling, the one who forgave, who cleaned up, who quietly fixed things when Dylan set fire to another piece of his life. But this time, I was done, and I could already tell he didn't know what to do with that. By the time I turned the corner at the end of the block, my phone buzzed. Dylan, come on, Jess. Don't be like this. I didn't respond. 2 minutes later, another ping. Dylan. Look, I get why you're mad, okay? But it's not like you don't have other options. It's just an apartment. Just an apartment. I let out a bitter little laugh, drawing a few stares from a couple walking past me with umbrellas. No, Dylan, it wasn't just an apartment. It was a fresh start. It was something I'd worked for. Something I had planned, dreamed about, counted on. And he had taken it because, like always, he thought his needs came first. Well, this time he was going to learn what it felt like when actions had consequences. I shoved my phone in my coat pocket and kept walking, the cold drizzle soaking through my jeans as I tried to come up with a plan. I didn't have one yet. I just knew I wasn't going to call our parents and ask for help. Not this time. I dialed Megan instead. She picked up on the second ring. Hey, how's the big move? Megan, I said tightly, I need a favor. She must have heard something in my voice, because her tone changed instantly. What happened? I took a breath. Dylan stole my apartment. Silence. Then, he what? I told her everything. How he lied to the landlord, how he took the lease, how I showed up with my suitcase and found him living there like it was no big deal. Come stay with me, she said, not missing a beat. Seriously. However long you need. Relief flooded me. Thank you. You okay? She asked more softly. I wasn't. But I would be. I will be, I said. The next few days were strange. I stayed in Megan's guest room with my suitcase half unpacked at the foot of the bed. Every morning I opened my laptop, applied to new listings, made calls, and toured apartments that somehow all felt wrong. Too small, too dark, too far, too soon. I didn't respond to Dylan's texts. At first they were light, trying to brush things off. Dylan, you still mad? Dylan. Jess, I feel like you're blowing this out of proportion. By day 2 they started shifting. Dylan. It's not like I ruined your life. Dylan. You always land on your feet. You'll find something better. That last one made my jaw tighten so hard I thought I might crack a tooth. That was the whole problem, wasn't it? Dylan knew I'd land on my feet. Because I always had. Because I never let myself fall. Because I had spent a lifetime cushioning his landings, and nobody ever thought to ask if I needed a parachute. But this time, He was on his own. On the third day of total silence, he called. I stared at the screen as his name lit up. For a second, I almost ignored it. Then I tapped accept. I didn't say anything. Neither did he, not at first. I could hear him breathing on the other end. Then finally, Jess. I messed up. I blinked. I hadn't expected that. Dylan never apologized. Not really. Not without a joke attached. Not without some excuse. But his voice didn't sound smug or defensive. It sounded tired. I didn't think it through, he continued. I really needed a place, and I convinced myself it was fine because I figured you'd be okay. There it was again. I let out a short, humorless laugh. Because I always am, right? He didn't answer. You didn't just screw up a plan, Dylan. You stole my apartment. You took something I had worked for. You made me start over from zero. I know. His voice was quieter now, almost a whisper. And now I feel like an idiot. Good, I said sharply. Because you should. Silence. Then after a moment, I talked to Mom and Dad. I rolled my eyes instinctively. Since when do you listen to them? A short laugh. No real humor in it. Since you stopped talking to me. I sucked in a breath, caught off guard by that. He sounded different. Like maybe, for the first time in his life, he understood that he had pushed too far. What do you want from me? I asked. He hesitated. Then, I want to fix it. I closed my eyes, a wave of exhaustion washing over me. You can't, Dylan. Not completely. I know, he said quietly. But maybe I can try. We met for coffee the next morning. I almost didn't go. A big part of me wanted to stay angry, wanted to stay above it. But another part, the part that had always wanted to believe he could be better, won out. So I went. He was already there when I arrived. No smug grin, no sarcasm. Just Dylan, sitting with a coffee cup in both hands like he didn't know what to do with them. He stood when I walked in, then sat back down as I joined him. For a few seconds, neither of us said anything. I don't expect you to forgive me right away, he said finally. But I don't want to be this person anymore. I looked at him hard, waiting for the lie. But for once, I didn't see one. You have to prove it, I said. He nodded. I know. And maybe, just maybe, he meant it. I stared into my untouched coffee as he sat across from me. This was what I had wanted for years. For Dylan to acknowledge the damage he caused. To own it. To stop acting like his life was everyone else's responsibility. And now that he was finally saying the words, I didn't know what to do with them. I don't want to be that person anymore, Jess, he repeated. And for the first time there were no excuses in his voice. No jokes. Just a grown man finally realizing that he had burned bridges he couldn't keep expecting others to rebuild. I wasn't sure if I believed him. Not yet. But I wanted to. I need you to really understand something, I said, keeping my voice steady. Dylan nodded. I know. But did he? Because the truth was, this wasn't just about the apartment. This wasn't even just about this lie. It was about years. Years of him taking advantage of me. Years of assuming I'd clean up after him. Years of me making excuses because I wanted to believe he'd eventually grow up. But now? Now I wasn't letting him back into my life just because he finally felt bad. Dylan, I said, looking him directly in the eye. This wasn't a mistake. He blinked. A mistake is locking your keys in the car. A mistake is forgetting to call someone back. You didn't accidentally steal my apartment. You made a decision. You knew exactly what you were doing. He flinched a little but didn't argue. You thought you'd get away with it. Just like you always have. He swallowed hard. I know. I don't even know why I do this. I mess everything up. I stared at him unflinching. Because you've never had to deal with the consequences. His jaw tightened, but again no protest. Because he knew I was right. Our parents had always covered for him. Always brushed things off. And I was the one expected to be mature. To understand. To forgive. To absorb the damage. But I was done carrying him. I'm not going to be your cushion anymore, I said. He was quiet for a moment. Then cautiously. So, what now? I let out a breath. That's up to you. He frowned. What do you mean? I mean, I'm not fixing this. I'm not smoothing it over. I'm not making it easier. You got yourself here, you figure it out. Dylan looked down at his coffee, nodding slightly. Yeah, okay. I get that. I don't think you do, I said, my voice firmer now. Because I'm not saying this to punish you. I'm saying it because I literally can't do this anymore. You've taken, and I've let you because you're my brother. But I'm done playing that role. I have to take care of myself now. He rubbed his temples. I don't know how to be different, Jess. For a moment my voice softened. Not out of pity, just exhaustion. Then figure it out. Because it's not my job to teach you. Not anymore. He looked up at me again. And something shifted. Maybe for the first time he realized I meant it. I didn't hear from Dylan for a couple of weeks after that. I figured that was it. He tried to say sorry, realized I wasn't going to hand him an easy way out, and gave up. And honestly, I had already decided that was fine. I found a new apartment. It wasn't as charming or well lit as the one I lost. No big windows, no hardwood floors, but it was mine. The lease had my name on it. The keys were in my hands. I was rebuilding piece by piece without Dylan in the picture. And then one quiet Tuesday afternoon I got a text from him. Dylan, I did something today. Not sure if it changes anything. But I wanted you to know. I hesitated, fingers hovering over my phone. Me, what did you do? Dylan. I told Mr. Daniels I'm moving out of the apartment. I stared at the screen. Me, wait, seriously? Dylan, yeah. I realized I don't actually deserve that place. And I don't want to live somewhere I got by screwing over my sister. I found a new apartment. Signed the lease today. I blinked. No guilt trip. No request for help. No manipulation. He had done it on his own. Me, why? Dylan, because I need to stop being the guy who takes things that aren't his. And I know that doesn't undo what I did. But I'm trying, Jess. Really. I stared at that last message for a long time. For once, Dylan wasn't just saying the right words. He was doing something about them. We met up again a few weeks later. No big emotional reunion. No dramatic hugs or speeches. Just two people sitting on a park bench with takeaway coffee between them. He looked different. Not physically. Still the same Dylan, same scuffed sneakers, same uneven haircut. But something in his posture had shifted. He wasn't slouching. He wasn't performing. He was quieter. More grounded. I don't expect us to go back to how things were, he said. I want to fix what I can. Even if it takes time. I studied him. You really hurt me, I said plainly. I know. And I don't want to be hurt by you anymore. I don't want to be that guy anymore, he said. I don't want to keep disappointing you. For the first time, I believed him. I gave a small nod. Okay. He blinked. Okay. I'm not saying everything's fine. It's not. But I think we can start figuring it out. A cautious smile spread across his face. Yeah, he said. I'd like that. It wasn't a fairy tale ending. There were still years of damage between us. Still things to unlearn, still trust to rebuild. But it was something. Dylan was finally trying. And for now, that was enough. Looking back, I think that was the first time I really stood up for myself with Dylan and maybe in general. I stopped cleaning up his messes. I let him feel the consequences. And somehow that's when he finally started to change. We're not back to where we were. We might never be. But now things are honest. And that's enough for me.